We played pretty well all through the weekend in Florida, but they seemed to be able to come up with a big hit or make the big pitch, and that was a difference in that series. But we've been in every single game on this road trip and came in here, and man, it took us about 12 hours, it seemed like, to get that first win here, but we got it done. And then last night was a great team effort, and having Al back in the rotation was really a shot in the arm for everybody. He's a big part of this club.
Art, they mentioned this on the game last night, and they were paraphrasing you when they said, and it makes sense, the hardest decision you have game to game now, and it is a tough one, is when to take Mike out of the game for defensive purposes, and judge his at bat, when you're going to need his bat, when you're going to risk his defense. That has become a very tricky call for you. How tough has it been? Yeah, that is. That's the one thing that's on my mind each night. But like last night, I'm thinking to myself, the night before in the fifth inning, they walked Mike with first base open. And the more I'm starting to think about it, even though it's a tie ball game late in games, I don't think any manager is going to let Mike beat him. So it's almost like, are you better off putting the defense down there to keep things, intact in that area? Because when he comes up and the game's on the line, I don't know if he's really going to get much of an opportunity to win the game, especially when it's tied.
That's an excellent point, but you are going to get him on base because their pitch around him. At least you have a base runner to work with in those kind of situations, too.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, but like I said, who's never been an infielder, really, it's even doubly difficult. So it's not like a third baseman or a shortstop or a second baseman that's been used to taking ground balls his whole career, and you slide him over there, and then you have different responsibilities. But now you're taking a catcher who hasn't really fielded ground balls at all, and you're saying, okay, to go down there and play a new position totally, your responsibilities are totally different, and you're handling the ball almost as much as you were as a catcher.
Art, let's revisit that quickly in spring training. We were always puzzled. I know you're going to say, well, you got hurt, and you're doing a lot of work. How come only 15 innings in spring training for Mike and 31 games down there?
Because he physically couldn't do it. 2 different times, Matty took him back on the backfields for extra work, and he injured his leg each time that he did it, and they were about 10 days apart, trying to let him heal up from the first one. So that was the real reason that we couldn't get the work in the games or on the backfields as much as we'd like. He physically couldn't do it because he had it was pretty close to a groin thing with him, and we just didn't want to jeopardize not having him available when the season started. So he really, and I totally agree that he didn't get the opportunity to play as many games as we'd like to. He played, 6 starts at first base and 19 behind the plate, and he said that at that time that he could catch, and it didn't seem to bother his leg the way it did when he played first. So that's why he had limited playing time in the spring, and all parties wanted him to get more work at first, including himself, but it just physically was unable to do it.
Art, you've made a statement here with him at first the last run of games. Because the Marlins are in this weekend, will he be exclusively a first baseman all weekend because of the Marlins running game?
I'm leaning that way. But then once we get out of here and then we get into, some of the interleague games, I'm going to try to DH him some of the interleague games and maybe get him some catching in one of those games, too.
Does he mind this run at first base exclusively? Does it bother him, or he doesn't
I don't think so. I mean, he hasn't said anything one way or the other.
Okay, so he doesn't take it as any slight that he's not catching at all these games?
No, I don't think so. Mike's a team guy. He wants to win, and I think he feels like this is giving us the best opportunity to win, and he's got his bat in the lineup, and he's doing a great job of swinging it. And if you look at these games, too, I mean, they've all been pretty low scoring for the most part. In Florida, the first couple of games were very low scoring, and, we just couldn't come up with a big hit.
Art Howe with Mike and Amelia. Let me take you back to one over the weekend, Art. We've had a lot of discussion about 2-2, Stanton on the hill, pulling Stanton out of that game. I mean, I didn't know. I thought maybe Stanton was hurt. I mean, I got to admit, I was shocked by that. So have a lot of the callers and everybody. What were you thinking at that point?
Well, first of all, once Pierre got on base, my thought process was Mike's got a great move to first. If I bring in Weathers at this point, he's going to take off almost immediately, steal second base. And this guy's got the ability to get a base hit a lot easier than an extra base hit. So I was going to give Mike an opportunity to hold Pierre, number one. And I had the confidence that he could at least hold the big guy Lowell to a base hit at worst case scenario. But once Pierre took off on the 1-2 pitch and stole second, for me, I looked at the numbers. Lowell's hitting like over 450 against left-handers. I just, in my mind, I couldn't let him finish the at-bat against him because now the odds were way in Lowell's favor to drive the run in. And brought David in because I had the confidence in him to get the guy out. I would, if I was a reliever, I would like a 2-2 count rather than a 0-0 count myself.
I'm sure Stanton didn't like that very much.
I know. I talked to him. Mike says no problem. You know, I mean, he's a professional. It's the first time it happened to him.
I'm sure.
And I told him, hey, I said there's a first time for everything, Mike, and who knows, it may happen again. So who knows?
Well, we were a little surprised by that one. I mean, as a result, Lowell gets a hit. The other thing that same game, Mark, that was, I don't know, I wasn't watching, so I don't know who you had available. Down by 2 in the ninth, you had Floyd lead off. I don't want to hear Floyd complain about it. That's tough. You're the manager. You do what you want. But why'd you have Floyd lead off down by 2 in that game in the top of the ninth?
Because if you recall, 2 days before, I had Kareem Garcia available to pinch hit against Armando, and Armando's pitched for me for a year. I know he's he's tougher on right-handers than left-handers. So I actually told Floyd, well, the first game, I waited for the fourth hitter with Kareem, hopeful to get one guy on so that he would get up to hopefully maybe win the ball game for us. But he never got to the plate. He went 1-2-3 against our 3 right-handers, and we had no chance. Now we were 2 runs down. Originally we were 1 run down, and all of a sudden 2 outs. There was a home run to left field, and it made it a 2-run lead. But I had already told Cliff beforehand he was leading off the inning because at that time he represented a tying run. But once the home run was hit, I figured, what the heck? I might as well let him hit anyways because I do have another left-hander coming up after him, and if Cliff can get on and Kareem can run into one, we're tied and we're in the ball game. But the pitcher was 5 spots away, and they were all righties except for Kareem. I figured, well, why not fire this bullet while I can? And so I fired the bullet, but he didn't get on, obviously.
And he wasn't too happy going up against Benitez, it sounded like, either.
Well, he was going to have to get up there against him sooner or later, but that's the way it goes. No, I had told him beforehand that he was leading off the inning.
Well, he should be quiet.
Well, I talked to him the next day, and he said it came out a lot different than what he intended.
All right, Cameron, I know he got the big hit the other day in the Monday game down the third baseline, but still he looks very, very shaky day in and day out. Is your leash with him as far as DL versus him sitting on a bench, is it getting shorter, or are you somehow believing that he's somehow getting better?
I think the DL's a non-option. I mean,
so it's either surgery. I mean, DL's a non-option.
Yeah, it's not an option right now. He's feeling good. I mean,
he is.
Yeah, he feels fine.
So this is not injury related with his hand anymore.
I don't think so. I mean, he's taking extra BP every day. He's swinging the bat a lot. I would think if it was really bothering his hand that much, he'd have to cut back on his swings.
So now it's just performance related.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's coming out of it. He's had 3 games. He's gotten a hit in. Last night he hit a double down the left field line. Got robbed on a diving catch late in the game. I think it's coming. And the reason I say that is because speaking to him, I think his optimism is there again. I mean, he's talking in positive frames, and it wasn't like before. He was kind of vague and questioning himself. Now he feels like he's starting to make some headway.
All right, how come this team, really all year, with guys in scoring position, but especially with the bases loaded, why is this team 5 for 42, whatever it might be?
Where's Pat Tabler?
I mean, that is as bad as it gets. How come?
I'll tell you, we're batting our heads against the wall. I mean, we're trying to figure out why, because we're getting the men on base, with a lot of consistency. But it just seems when we get up there with men in scoring position, or especially with the bases loaded, we just get over anxious, and we get ourselves out, and we don't make the pitcher, give us a pitch to hit. And it's just been, and it's not been one player. It's been in mass. It's been the whole group. And hopefully it's going to start getting better. I mean, all you can do is just keep grinding it, and hopefully maybe one guy comes up with a bases loaded double that cleans the bases. Maybe that'll unclog the dike and then let things flow smoothly from there.
I come to the point where I have no comprehension of the Mets when it comes to the physical ailments of their players. But did we just find out now that Matsui needs glasses?
Well, no. I mean,
didn't we ever give him an eye test when he got over here for a physical?
He actually wore contacts for a while with us, but he just wasn't comfortable wearing them.
So now he's wearing glasses?
Well, we got prescription for them, and the prescription came in. He wasn't comfortable with the prescription. He feels they're too strong. So now we have to go ahead and try to change that and get him comfortable with wearing them.
All right, number 2, that leads us back to the guy who seems to be at least mentioned once every show. Now Reyes is going to back doctors? What the heck? Where are we? I don't mean to have this come down on you, but what the heck? Now he's seeing back specialists?
Well, evidently, when they changed his running form, they predicted that he was going to have some difficulties in his back, and I don't know if they predicted it was going to be to this severity, but obviously he's had some swelling in his lower back, and they're checking it out.
Do you expect to see him soon, or is this, who knows?
Don't ask me.
Would you rather, what do you think will come first, Haley's Comet or Reyes?
I'd be afraid to be a bet man on that.
I mean, geez, I know you have to just go forward, and now you basically, at least, I guess, 3-4 times a week, Wiggy's going to play second, and the way Zeal's playing, he's going to play third, right?
Yeah, we've got to get to the... I just decided we're going to try to get as much offense on the field as possible.
Why not? Zeal's doing a great job.
Hey, I'll tell you what. How about the play he made?
Nice play,
and a great at bat with Matsui at second. I mean, that was a great at bat plus the home run. I mean, Zeal's always been a good solid player, but he's doing a heck of a job.
He's doing a great job, and he's great in this clubhouse, and he's just a professional. It's nice to get him in the lineup because he's the one guy that you feel good about with men on base because he's going to work the count and he's going to try to get a good pitch to hit, and you're hoping that the younger players see that and it starts rubbing off on them.
Art, I'll tell you one thing about Matsui. I think he coming along offensively. He's stealing a few bases. I even blame him for that throw the other day. There's no need to bounce that. This is not Davey Concepcion. He is not a good defensive shortstop. I mean, I hate to say it.
We got snowed on that. We got sold a bill of goods in spring training about how good he was defensively.
Now wait a minute. Now he's not David Concepcion because Concepcion played on turf all the time.
Well, that's what I mean. He's playing. Doing that play on grass doesn't make any sense. He's just not. Already can't throw the ball.
I mean, Reyes is and I know we're talking about next year, but if Reyes, if he ever plays again, I would think he's got to be your shortstop in the future.
I'll deal with that next year. you guys are relentless.
Come on, Art. Absolutely. I mean, geez. One guy needs glasses and can't reach first. The other guy never plays. It's a hell of a keystone combination.
I tell you, you showed some confidence the other night. Yeah, last night, because last week you went to him and he didn't do that well. I said that was a big game for the Mets to win, tight game. 1-1 in the bottom of the 8th, and you went to Botanico. That was
pitch well.
And you let him pitch to Bobby Abreu. I mean, you did a nice job there by letting him pitch in that spot. That showed some confidence in Botanico there.
Well, he's been pitching great for us. The only time he's had problems is at the game last week at home against the Phillies. He had a tough inning, but he hadn't pitched in a while before that. But other than that one outing, he's been lights out for us. And when you're pitching against your ex-team, yeah, you have a little incentive, I think, and that's something that I was counting on last night, that he wanted to step up against these guys and show them maybe they made a mistake letting him lead.
Good point, especially after he lost to him last week. Let me get back at him. That's very fair.
All right, Art, have you seen enough? Now, you're usually so optimistic, I know what the answer is going to be, but have you seen enough from Ginter to actually be very optimistic, or do we need to give him another 30, 40 innings before we get starting to think that he actually, a guy who was a reliever in the spring, can actually be a guy who can be a mainstay, or at least a guy who can hold down a starting rotation spot?
I'd be surprised if he couldn't. I mean, he's done nothing but show us that he's capable of getting big league hitters out, and he's shown us he can get through the 6th inning now, and hopefully, the next time, I mean, he was on his way to getting 7 or 8 the last time out here, just 2 days ago. hopefully he's going to get 7 and 8 on a regular basis. But he's showing he can get major league hitters out. This is a good lineup the Phillies run out there, and they didn't put too many good swings on him the other day.
All right, good job. Thank you very much. Talk to you next week.
Okay, again.
Thank you, Art. Take care. The Art Howe Report.